everybody, so donnellsstichery here, and this is week 4, I believe it is. Let me double check here. Yes, week 4 of my 2024 sampler quilt, and these are blocks that I'm getting from my EQ8, and I am doing them in all different types of patterns and colors and everything, and all revolving around Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas. And this will be all done up as at the end of the year. I'll put it all together and do it up as a sampler quilt for my oldest son for Christmas. So the first week we did the snowball block, which was 6.5 inches. The second week we did the snail trail block, a very large 13 inches. Last week we did the courthouse steps, which wound up being, I believe, 7.5 inches. And this week we are going to do the pineapple quilt block. And this one here is going to be 8 inches by 8 inches. I know that they're all different sizes. And when I get ready to put the quilt blocks together, whatever does not seem to fit just perfectly and wherever I place them and all, then I'll just add sashing on either the top, bottom sides, whatever I need to do to fill in some empty areas. So we are going to start off with doing, we have our A pieces here. And these were, so block numbers A's, which I'll put down over this way for right now. I got all my stuff cut out, and I will give you all the measurements as we go. I got my iron and everything all ready to go over here, but these here were actually, so you'll need 4 of each color. And what you're going to do is you're going to cut out a 4 1/4 square by 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 square, and you'll slash it right down the center. So like so. See if I can't put this back together just perfectly. I may not have. Nope. Okay, well, you guys get the idea. So you would cut out a 4 inch by 4 inch square. You cut a diagonal from corner to corner. And then you would take, so we are going to keep one of these and one of these. And what you do is you want the log edge on the outside. So that you want the straighter grain on the outside and the bias seams on the inside. And you're going to put 2 together to create a large triangle. And you're going to do that to all 4 of them. Now what you could do if you want is cut the square a bit larger and sew a diagonal seam, or draw an edge and sew a diagonal seam and do it that way. I decided to do mine right with the same method as what the pattern's given me. I'm using a 1/4 inch seam. And I'm just going to go ahead and do up all 4 of these. So that way there, I have them ready when I'm ready to do them. And your purple fabric, for me, purple fabric, needs to be on the top at all times. So it needs to be in this orientation every time. I do believe, yes. So it needs to be in that orientation at all times. I actually have the pattern hanging up right here underneath my camera, so that way there I can keep track and make sure I'm giving you guys the exact correct dimensions. I created it on my EQ8 today and printed it out. Now I try to do all my measurements so that way there I'm going within like the 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, something like that, instead of like any eighths. Occasionally there will be a pattern where I had to do eighths, and I'm trying to avoid those as much as possible, which is why I'm getting doing all these inconsistent sizes of blocks. Then plus it just makes it fun. I'm coming over here, and you can press to whichever way you want, or you can press open, whatever you feel like doing. But this is the outcome that you want. Myself, I am pressing towards the purple because there's not going to be any interlocking seams or anything like that, so it really doesn't matter to me in which way I go on this. And then if you see here, I have a little bit of a dog ear. I'm just going to take my pair of snips here and trim those off to reduce bulk. All right, and then I'm going to put my little tag of the letter A back on this here until I need this, because this will be the outside pieces for my block. So I'm just put my little label back onto it that I've made up and everything. I made up a bunch of these for all the alphabet. And I'm just going to clip it to it and put it off to the side for now. So next what you'll need is you'll need your centerpiece. I'm using this one here because this one was perfect. The center should be 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. This was perfect because this came out just beautifully at 2 3/4. And that's going to be my centerpiece. And so this one here, we are going to take, so this will be letter H. We're going, and then all of our little strips that would make out the pineapple formation around it will be all the other alphabet. And I will tell you as we go what letter of alphabet I'm using, as well as what the size of that strip will be. Each one is different, so you will have to watch the entire video to find out. So this one here is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. Next we are going, so this will be orientated on the diagonal. I should have fussy cutted this a little bit better to where it would have been straight on, but it is what it is. Jack's gonna be sitting around with his head tilted, no big deal. So next we are going to take our letter C, which is 1 1 1/4 strip. So our letter C is going to be a black. So we are going to take our letter C black and we're going to do 1 1/4 by 3 1/2. So we're going to put C over here. And I got my pieces here. These measure 1 1/4 wide by 3 1/2 long, and they will fit right here. You want it to be longer than the block. Because you're going to have to trim afterwards. So there will be some waste on this design, but that's okay. And we're going to do this on all 4 corners. And then we're going to press. I'm going to press all mine going towards the outside, towards the piece I just sewn on. This type of block, we will need to go back and trim every so often. So for this one here, I am doing all four sides of this block. Once I get these pieces here all sewn on, then I will give you the next step. And they are not going to be matching exactly, and that is completely fine. Everything's going to get covered up. Nothing will be seen. And all these, majority of these blocks that I am making on the sampler quilt, just want to let everybody know, these are my first times making them as well. And I'm choosing either blocks that people have suggested for a tutorial or blocks that I just want to make for the first time that I've not made yet, but I don't want to make an entire quilt of that block. And as you see, yes, I am using white thread and in my bobbin as well as my needle, and that is so that way there you guys can see what it is that I'm doing and all my stitches. So now I'm going to take this to the iron over here and cross it. So this is what you should come out with at this point. And I need to move this stuff out of the way because I need to bring my cutting board up here. Because I'm about to trim. So, trimming, you want, let me see if I can get something to show you. There we go. Small yellow ruler. So for the trimming, we want to trim to where you're going to have like a quarter inch to where you still keep all of your points, which means you're going to want to trim to a quarter inch above that point at a diagonal, at a 45-degree diagonal. So that way there, you keep your points on the block, on the centerpiece, but yet you're cutting off all this mess out here, which is why I said not to stress about the fact that the strips do not go all the way up, because we didn't want them to go all the way up. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. You just need to find your ruler and use a 45-inch line. I'll do the first one, and then I'll come back and I'll show you. Make sure you're using the 45, because if you're not using the 45, then you can wind up cutting in the completely wrong direction. Okay, I just did my first cut, and as you see there, it's nice, cut nice and correct and everything, right at a 45-degree angle, and I left myself a quarter of an inch here, so when I sew on the next piece, it'll come down to right to where that point is, and I won't lose my point. So let me grab one of my other smaller rulers, or I can probably show you on this one here. So for this one here, what I did is I found my corner, And I took my, let's see if I can get one of my smaller ones. Because that does seem like a very large ruler. Doo -doo 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 -doo. Where did all my rulers go to? They ran away. Okay, well, I'll just have to show you on my larger ruler. But if you ever have questions, feel free to email me or to put a message in the comment section below. So what I did is I put my 45-degree line right here. It's going right along here onto this line here. For this cut here, I put on that line. So I'll show you on that one. So I did is I put my 45-degree line right there on that seam line right there. And then I moved it up a quarter of an inch. Where if you see, let me angle the camera down over here better for you guys so y'all can see better. There you go. So I put my 45-degree line on that line right there where those two fabrics meet, right here. That's where I put my 45-degree. And then I moved it up a quarter of an inch to where that first quarter of an inch dot right there that falls on that 45-inch line falls right dead center into that corner. And then I cut. So that way there I get a nice consistent 45-inch mark. So what I'll do is I'll bring it over here. I'll put it on that 45-inch line. And I'll bring that quarter of an inch up. And then I'll use my rotary cutter and cut right there. So that way there, this is all waste. And I got the nice consistent 45-inch cut. So let me go ahead and take care of these real quick. And we're going to do that method after every patch that we put on all the way around. So then you come out with this. And yes, it is coming out a little bit on the wonky side where you got these little blotches up here, but that's okay because we're going to fill that in with the next round, which the next one is our, see that was C, so the next one is going to be D. And our D strips are going to be 1 1/4 by 3 1/2. So let me grab D from over here. Put those back down in here. And you'll need 4 of those as well, because you got 4 sides. So D is going to go, so like how C is here, you're going to put D on the longer raw edge. And mine is cutting off my corner just a hair, but I'm not worried about that. There's nothing symmetrical about Chet Skellington. He is all wonky anyway, so if mine winds up being a little on the wonky side, that is completely fine with me. Wonky is fun. Okay, so now I'm just putting on the other two sides. Oops. Sorry, I forgot to bring the camera back over here to me. Sorry, guys. And you won't see the power of editing on my end because I don't edit my videos. I record them and they're either to my satisfaction or I re-record them. And as you guys are probably hearing, Quasar is saying hi to everybody. This, he is one of my birds in my sewing room. And he likes to be the center of attention. Because, you know, birds are nothing more than feathery 2-year-olds. And they like to be seen and heard and spoken with and all. So anytime he hears me talking, he always thinks I'm talking to him and wants to talk too. Which is fine because I like the sound of the birds in my room. It's pleasant. It gives me happiness, brings me joy, reminds me of springtime. You know, it is springtime right now here in Michigan, but it reminds me of springtime. I'm happy, happy. All right, so here is this piece here that we have. So now I'm going to take it over to the cutting mat and I'm going to put my 45-inch ruler onto this line now. You always want to go on the outside seam, the most recent seam that you've done. So you're going to put it right there on that outside seam and then move it up a 1/4 inch to where the 1/4 inch mark that falls right there. That little tiny dot. Sorry, I'm trying to get this over here where you guys can see it. That little tiny dot that lands right there on that 1/4 inch or on that 45-degree line. That first dot is where you want your corner piece right here to land. So that way there, when you cut, you got your 1/4 inch seam. And if you want to go a little bit more than that, then that is cool too, because that way there, so I might do just a hair on the outside of that. So always make sure you got everything lined up nice and neat before you actually cut, because there is no gluing it back together. So there is the piece I have so far. Throw my scrap piece away. Teeny tiny little triangle pieces. That's all that's scrapped. So our next piece that we were going to sew on, so that was D. Our next one is going to be E, which is going to be the black fabric again. So we're going to grab our E blocks. I'm going to put my E notes and clip back into my thing in here, in my drawer. You'll need 4 of those because they got to go on the 4 larger sides. Because we just trying to sew that onto these sides. So now we're going to sew the black onto these sides. And the E fabric that we're doing now is 1/4 strip by 4 1/8 long. So since we just sewn that on, now we want to sew that onto this end. And you can turn, if you want to fold this in half, make a little, so if you want to fold your strip in half, make a little crease. You can try and put that little crease like right up towards the center of your block. That way there you got equal amounts on both sides if you like. And just to let you know, if you do, when you're cutting your 45-degree angle, I just did slightly past that 45, like just a hair past it. And it did give me plenty of room, so that way there I did not try and cut into or sew into my corner, which worked out good. Let me show you. So I actually try to cut opposed to like that one there while I wound up cutting off my corners, sewing over my corners. This one here with a 1/4 inch seam gave me plenty of room, so I did not cut off my thing there. My corner, whatever. It's, oh, okay. We good. Alrighty, so now I'm going to do my next one. I'm just folding this in half. Use my finger, creating a little crease there. So I can put it right dead center. That's if you want your strip to go all the way around with no problem. And you can stop this at any point that you like for to equal any size pineapple block that you would like. Myself, I am going to do so when I'm done, it comes out to be 4 strips of the black that would be going, 4 levels that would be going out, which would then give me my triangle. Then I'll add my triangles on the outside and it'll be done. The goal is just to have equal amount of the strip on each side. Now I will point out one mistake I made just a little bit ago. That I just noticed a few minutes ago and everything while I was sewing these strips on. So if you give me one moment, I can point out that mistake to you because I want to be as transparent as possible, showing you guys my mistakes I make so that way there you can learn from what I did. Let me get this pressed because I'm going to have to figure out how to fix this before I quilt it in. Put it into the quilt, or I might just make a new one because at this point I don't know how to go about fixing it without it being noticeable. So, where'd it go? Okay, see how beautiful this is? Now all my beautiful points down here are looking. On the bad side is I trimmed too much off of that. So there's actually a hole right there. And I move my finger out of the way so you can actually see my sewing table underneath it. That should have been the gray fabric there. Or the black fabric. So I don't know what I done wrong. Because all my other ones came out beautiful. And you can see it here. If I move my finger all the way, you'll see the white table underneath. So it's a tiny little piece there. So I may try to figure out something to fix that, or I might just make a new one and be a little bit more cautious. But I'm going to trim my 45-degree angle on this one now using my previous thing. Okay, I think I know what I did. I just figured out because I was getting ready to cut. What I've been doing is measuring along here, the 45-degree angle, and coming up a quarter of an inch so I don't lose my seam allowance. But in actual reality, I should have just been cutting right along this straight line. So when I cut this here, that black line, I should have went straight along that line there. What I could do is actually unpick this and put this back down there where it should be, which I think is what I'm going to do. That way there, it saves me any time or energy and allows me to fix this block right here on camera with you wonderful people. And let me grab my handy dandy little, essentially an eyebrow trimmer, but it's great for doing this. Just rub it right up against that stitch and it undoes the stitch. Don't want to rub it hard or anything, just a slight little. So bring you over here so that way that I can show you what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is I'm just pulling it apart very gently. I got my thumb and my ring finger over here holding one side, and my pointer finger and middle finger over here holding the other. I'm taking the blade and I'm just slightly rubbing up against the stitching, and it's doing the stitch. And then all I gotta do is come back. Oh, put my little guard back on, put it back away. All I gotta do is come back and pull out my strings. That one wanted to be a little fussy and not come out. I think it's because of my video. And then I just pull the strings right on my fabric over here. Any and all loose strings. And we'll redo that piece. There we go. Now I have a straight line there to sew this down on. And redo this one. That way there, I'm fixing it right here. And I ain't gotta worry, I don't have to worry about anything else getting messed up along the way or redoing my block. I did lose my point on that one, but that's okay. Like massively lost my point on that one, but that's okay because it was a boo-boo. I'm just gonna come up here and trim this down. And like I said at the beginning of the video, this is my first time ever making the pineapple quilt block. So we all learn as we go sometimes. Okay, as of right now, this block is measuring 5 inches by 5 inches. So I am going to keep going at least one more round. But essentially, when you try to add on a strip, you want it to be long enough to cover for your 45-degree angle that you're going to cut and still give you plenty of room, because you want this effect here where you got the black, 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 or whatever color or design of fabric you're using. But the next fabric is the letter E, and that is going to be a 1 1/4 by 4 1/8. Which is this fabric here that I've done. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add that on to all 4 sides. And then I'll do another round of the black, and then I'll do my outside triangles that I created. Now my EQ8, I almost chose to do a wonky pineapple quilt block, which they did have, which I thought would be great with this theme, because everything in Midnight Before Christmas is all wonky. And I thought that'd be super cute, but I'm like, yeah, be great for mine, but not great for everybody else's maybe. So to keep it with the theme that I needed to do and everything, I decided to just go with the traditional quilt pineapple block essentially. So that way there, you guys can all have the correct way of doing this. Okay, correct-ish. We're all human. We all make mistakes. Nothing is ever perfect in life, because we are all human and everything is man-made. Man-made is not 100%. Alrighty, now we are going to press this. Actually, I'm gonna finger press that, and then I'll press the whole thing with an iron. And we'll see where we are at with this one. And I know some people are probably sitting there going, no, don't swish. It's okay. If it winds up wonky, it winds up wonky. So here is my block before I trim it. So I'm going to go ahead and get that trimmed up real quick for you. If you guys see me throwing my scraps over here onto the floor, it's not the floor. I actually have a garbage can right down here, and they're going right into my garbage can. I have it positioned just perfectly for this. Alrighty, so my block now measures at this point 6 by 6. Actually, I need to trim down just a little bit here more on one side, which will make it the 6 by 6. There we go. Because it's slightly off. So our block now measures 6 by 6. So I could try either add on another black to the outside here, or which I think is what I will do. Yeah, we only got one more row of the black, so I'm going to add on another row of black because I like to finish it off with the black. I think that'll look better. And I think the black will frame it more. So right now I just got the first two black pieces sewn on. Now I'm just going to sew on the other two black pieces. And then I think from there we're going to add on our triangles. So I prefer the idea the triangles being up against the black pieces. Actually, nope, we need to do this one and one more strip because the one more strip will give us where the triangles will be on the black pieces then. So we got one more row after this one. I was mistaken. I am very sorry about that. See, I make lots of boo-boos. So here's this piece now. I'm going to get this trimmed up. We'll add on our last 4 strips. So there is my piece so far. Now, if I want to keep Jack to where his head is up straight, what I could do is I could go ahead and add on my triangles. Let me see here. Because what I could do is I could go ahead and add him on. Well, no, because I would need to add it on here, and then he'd still be sideways. Oh, let's see. The pattern does call for doing one more strip of the gray, which would then put the triangles over here on the black. Let me know in the comments which way you would prefer, with the triangles pieces being up against the black or with the triangle pieces being up against the gray. I'm going to go ahead and put on the one more blot or one more strip, which I mean I already have it cut out and measured, so I might as well use it. And I do notice here that something became off a little bit because this one is smaller along this edge here than what say these are. So somewhere down the road, I think it was this corner here that messed me up, or one of the corners that messed me up and everything, that became a little on the wonkier side than expected. Now these strips here, these are the last strips, which is strip G. That measures 1 1/4 by 4 1/8. If you see here, I had just a hair hanging over, and that is about 1/4 inch. Let's see here. Yep, it's exactly 1/4 inch hanging over on each side. So be careful on that. This one here is even less than that. Maybe it should have been the smaller sizes. It's okay because it'll all be hidden in my stitching of my triangles. So I'm not stressing over it. And then this one here is hanging over by 1/4 inch. So it did come out a little bit on the wonky side, but that's okay. I don't mind the wonkiness. Sometimes wonky is fun. And with the design of this quilt, I want the whole thing to come out wonky somewhat, like a controlled wonky. Because I think that'll just add to the design. Now, if you would like, you can make the strips longer. Like maybe instead of 4 1/8, make them 4 1/4 or 4 1/2. Give yourself a little bit more leeway. Just remember that's more waste that you'll have to cut off later. Now I am going to finger press these all back, going towards the strip that I just added on. Then I'll press it with the iron, trim it, and we'll add on our triangles. Or I might just add on the triangles without pressing to make sure I got plenty. We'll see. Yep, so I'm going to go ahead and trim mine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim, going to put my ruler right up against this line here and trim at a 45°. I always have to remind myself how to set the ruler to get my 45. Because sometimes it can confuse me on it. Now just remember, the more times around that you make this, the larger the ruler is that you're going to need. Because at some point, it'll get too long for me to do my 45 angle with this ruler. Possibly. At least I imagine that it would. and double check this one here. All right, so this is what I have so far. Now I'm going to add on my triangles. And my triangles are going to go up here on the top and bottom corners, which would make it so Jack is looking upward at me, which is perfect because that's exactly what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put the center seam in the center of these 4 black pieces. So that means I need to get my center. To do so, I'm just going to take my block, fold it in half to where the top 2 corner right here pieces match up. I'll show you down here. I'll take it so that way there, fold this over where the top 2 meet, and I'm just going to finger press, which puts that tiny little seam right there. You see that little crease? Puts that little crease right there. I'm going to line that up with that little crease right there I made. I'm going to line that up with my seam right here. So that way there, I know I got it 100% completely centered. You can pin, clip, or whatever you want. I just prefer to wing it. Now I'm going to do this to all 4 sides. And there will be overhang and you will need to trim. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim this all off right here. Essentially the dog ears. I'm going to do that to all 4 sides. So that way when I open this up, pressing towards the outside, I wind up with this. I still would need to trim up and square up, but it's better than what it was. And my purple will always be on the same side. So I'm going to fold this, finger crease. You can mark it, you can put a pin in it, you could iron it, whatever is to your heart's content of what you prefer. Now, like with this one here, I think I actually done this one perfectly because, yep. So this is how it should came out. This one here I know has been off the entire time ever since I messed up this one corner. So be careful when you're doing these from the very beginning, because if you mess up on the very beginning, it'll affect the entire way out, as you see, because I got a bunch of overhang here, but yet over here I have beautiful perfect lines. So this side I wouldn't even need a trim. This side I'm going to have to. So grab my next one. We'll see how each one does, because this is going to be the true testament on whether I got this done perfectly or not. And like I said, perfect is not what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for good enough and happiness. And Jack Skellington, as well as Nightmare Before Christmas, is nowhere near perfect. And this one is a little off as well. So right now, I have 2 wonkies and a perfect. Yep, same effect over here as the first one. Both of these are wonky. So, for the last one, drum roll please. This one's going to be wonky as well. I can see where my stitch is starting and stopping at. To know that I was 100% perfect on each one and everything, my stitch should have started and stopped at the 1/4 inch seam of each one, of each spot, and it did not. But that's okay. Let me give these a press, and then I'll show you. So here is my block. And you can see this one here came out the, actually, nope, this one over here came out the cleanest. Nice straight lines on both sides. This one here is the next runner up, and the top and the bottom were completely wonky. So I will need to trim this down, but that's okay because once I get it trimmed down, it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. I love how this block has turned out. This is my very first time ever doing the official pineapple block. I have made quilts with a very large pineapple in the center as commissioned before, but this is my very first time ever doing an official pineapple block, and I love it. This was a lot of fun to do. So I say give it a whirl, check it out, see if you like it. Another thing I could have done is this purple fabric. I could have added to the center, but I really wanted to highlight this beautiful piece right here because, I mean, the quilt is a Jack Skellington quilt, so I really wanted to highlight Jack Skellington right dead center and fussy cut him out. So I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thank you for coming to my video. Let me know in the link below on what color scheme are you doing your block in, as well as the previous question I asked earlier. I remember what it was now. Bye.